The sky is blue, and I'm back here with another episode of the Villain Review. Today, I'm talking about Thunderbolts, I'm talking about The Void, I'm talking about Sentry, the whole, enchilada of it all. Marvel has been struggling. They're in a rough spot, but today, the Thunderbolts is out. Everyone's saying this film's pretty damn good. And I'm saying, is Void good, right? Let's talk about the villain. Just like 2 weeks ago when I reviewed Remick, I'm going to talk about the Void, analyze him, talk about him, explain him, give him a score 1 out of 10. New villain reviews all the time. Check out the playlist. There's hundreds of those guys, dude. Get a life, man. Man, when we first meet the Void in this film, he's actually not the Void, he's Sentry. Actually, he's not even Sentry, he's Bob. Bob meets the Thunderbolts, and he is a victim of these scientific experiments to create the next big defender of Earth. To create essentially, a Superman. Captain America meets Superman, meets, an angel, pretty much. Adam Warlock kind of gives those vibes. Only problem is Valentina, she's putting too many people through the ringer, and everyone's dying. No one's surviving through this test. Except one person, Bob. He survived. He survives and basically goes through some light grooming from Valentina, who creates him into Sentry, essentially a century. Funny pun, right? Well, one of the strongest characters in the MCU, the strongest character in the universe since Emilia Clarke's character in Secret Invasion. Holy crap, dude. Best character in the MCU. Am I right? Everything seems really chill, dude. The whole movie ends right there, actually. They all eat cake, they get shawarma, cake shawarma, and that's that. But actually, no. They ate mac and cheese shawarma, that's right. He thinks to himself, wait a second, I'm gonna be a god. Angry gods. He says, lady, if I'm all powerful, why am I taking orders from you, dude, huh? You're just a schmuck, okay? I think I'm gonna go crazy. She kind of pisses him off. I'm gonna go through some light spoilers. She pisses him off, and his dark side, his alter ego, shout out to Lisa, comes out. And now he is the Void. Does he have the pass? Black people, that's up to you, not me. Man, okay, dude, there's a lot to unpack here. If we're just talking about the motives and the backstory of Bob and Sentry and Void, I feel like they're three different characters. I will say the whole aspect quality of experimentation, not anything interesting to me because it's such a played out concept even in the MCU. The fact that we've seen these created characters, you could point to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, you could point to Vision, you could point to Adam Warlock. We have so many of these creation characters. This doesn't do anything interesting to make that trope unique here. I would say my favorite thing about the character is this whole idea of this was not the plan for this guy to succeed. This was just supposed to be we're bringing in, these struggling people off the streets to see if the formula will work. And then we'll find someone with that Steve Rogers personality, someone who has the personality of a hero, but no, we're stuck with this guy, so let's just try to make it work. Them obviously not knowing about this dark side, which eventually leads him to be Void. I think that is the most interesting part of the whole motivation and the backstory with this character. But once we get to the actual Void himself, he's fueled by this feeling of being alone. He has nobody there for him. Nobody cares for him. He's very useless. And in that regard, it's interesting because I almost feel like that motivation serves to reflect the other Thunderbolts character rather than himself, because we've never seen anything from this guy's past. We see a few little insidious flashback. They go in the room and it's oh, how dare you, not quite like that, but essentially he's just man, dude, I got a messed up life and nobody's there for me. Trust me on that. And I do think that this whole idea of finding community, finding family, found family, it feels very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. It does work really well to complement characters like Yelena. I think that's really cool, but I think the trade-off is it doesn't serve him incredibly well as a character specifically, individually, and I think that kind of hurts how the whole character comes together, in my opinion. I also don't like how quickly he turns initially from Bob to Sentry, as he's no, those are my friends, those people look out for me. And then Valentina comes in and she goes, no, they actually don't like you. And he's oh shit, dude, they don't like me? Wow, that's not good. I'm gonna listen to everything you tell me now. That's a little lame. If we're talking about his actual personality though, I think Lewis Pullman did a good job. I like Bob himself as a character more so than I would say Sentry and Void. Void's kind of just an emo gooner. Why'd I say gooner? He's just emo, right? Nobody likes me. You're invisible when you're me. They should just sign Void up for the Beetlejuice musical. He'd crush it as Lydia. I like him being this naive guy who's thrust into this situation, who is, I would say, more trusting, but also not like just this complete pushover. I like kind of that tension he has with John Walker. I think his relationship with Yelena is really cool. Those being the two strong relationships here for this character. Sentry has one scene. Void really has one scene. And this leads us to the actual character scenes, because I do have some issues with it, but I do think there are some cool moments for Bob Sentry Void for sure. Bob, I really like as a character all around. I think he's a pretty wholesome guy. He's a fun energy. Lewis Pullman is likable, and I like his relationships with all the other characters. And I think that while he's actual Bob for the first, half of this movie, that's when the character is not only the most enjoyable, but the most entertaining and likable. Just best version of the character, in my opinion. Sentry, not quite as good. I will say he has a freaking kick-ass scene that I really enjoy. It's one of the most fun action sequences I've seen in a while in a Marvel film. It's really creative. It's really cool. Makes this guy to be insanely powerful, but that leads us to the issue with Sentry in this movie. Sentry has one moment to show how powerful he is, and then we never see him as Sentry again in this film. That is really disappointing, to introduce a character and go, look how cool he is, look how powerful he is. Thank you. Tickets for Avengers Doomsday available soon. And I guess it makes sense in the story, but it's a bummer, I would say. And then we have the Void of it all. We actually have the Void himself. Void, super cool introduction. I love the basic design of this character, and Marvel has gotten flack in the past for making designs overly complicated. Sometimes simple is better, and I think that the simple path they took with Void here was the best choice for this. There are some really cool Void designs for the comic books and things like that, but I think for a more realistic version that we have in the MCU, this fits really well here. I like it a lot, actually. Void's intro scene is really cool, but that's about it. He only really has this one scene. He comes in and he starts wiping people out, boom, 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 just wiping people, mowing people down left and right. And then it's hard to be like, how are they gonna fight this guy? Because when they show him to be this all-powerful god, they have to, essentially talk no jutsu him, and that's how you have to beat this character, because there's no way that these Thunderbolts characters are going to take this legendary godlike figure in this universe. It's impossible. That's kind of a bummer, and it is a bummer that we never really see a full-fledged fight scene for this character at all in this film. I've seen where he's challenged really at all, and you could say, that's not the whole point. He's not a character for this, especially Sentry and also Void, but it does make you wonder what this guy would actually be like in a fight. And I know that might not be the scale of this film to be like this big epic, like these big epic fights, and I'm glad, because Marvel doesn't always have to do that, but it definitely leaves you wanting more. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him in the character, addressing him being this big powerful character. I'm calling it now. I think this is going to be the character that the new Thanos, smacking up Hulk scene to be like, look how strong Thanos is. I think you got to throw Sentry in there, have Dr. Doom just wipe him down. I think that's going to be the big scene to show how strong Dr. Doom is. And I hope to see more of him in the future. Not only Sentry, but I hope we see something more with Void. The resolution of the character, I wasn't the biggest, most ginormous fan of it, but it's not bad. It's not horrible, and I will say it ties together the whole story's themes, the characters' arcs pretty dang well. So is he one of the better Marvel villains, of recent? I would say sure, but I just don't think that's a hard task, because we haven't really had many good Marvel villains of late. Here's crossing fingers for Galactus. Overall though, I liked the movie a lot. I enjoyed it. You should check it out. It's a good time. I'm gonna give The Void, The Sentry a 6.5. Thanks for watching. New videos all the time. Check out my review of Remick. That one came out pretty good. That's a great video.